Pipeline Studio is about understanding your workflow and knowing when it's running smoothly. Compression reveals the edge. When systems are pushed into microtime, behavior changes. Not because the tools fail, not because the source is corrupted, but because compression alters the conditions under which stability exists. Long-form media assumes continuity. Frames arrive in sequence. Motion has time to resolve. The system breathes. Short form does not. When time is collapsed into 5, 7, or 9 seconds, then sliced, shuffled, and recomposed, the system is no longer operating inside its original design envelope. It is operating at the edge. That edge is not visible in theory. It is revealed in practice. A frozen first frame, a delayed visual onset, motion that begins one beat later than expected. Audio remains intact. The file plays. The source is clean. Yet something feels momentarily unstable. This is not randomness in the casual sense. It is emergent behavior under compression. The pipeline has crossed a threshold where assumptions no longer hold. At micro timescales, synchronization is no longer guaranteed by duration alone. Caches, decoders, buffers, and frame alignment mechanisms are forced to resolve instantly rather than gradually. The system must decide what first means when there is barely any time at all. In long form, these decisions are amortized across seconds and minutes. Errors are absorbed quietly. Minor misalignments disappear inside duration. In ultra-short form, they surface immediately. There is no time for correction, no runway for recovery. Every decision is exposed at the boundary. What appears as a glitch is often the system showing its work. The edge is where continuity breaks into fragments, where stability stops being implicit, where behavior becomes conditional. Importantly, this does not happen every time. Edge behavior is non-deterministic. It depends on timing, ordering, and execution context that cannot be reliably predicted upstream. Two clips cut from the same source, processed through the same steps, can behave differently when recomposed under extreme time constraints. This is not inconsistency, it is sensitivity. The system is no longer forgiving, it responds to pressure instantly. Edge instability marks the boundary between long-form assumptions and short-form reality. It tells you where the pipeline's guarantees end and where responsibility shifts. Not to the source, not to the tools, but to the design of the pipeline itself. If you never see instability, you are likely not operating at the edge. If you do see it, you are already there. Compression doesn't create failure, it reveals limits. The important detail is scale. Nothing about these artifacts is dramatic in isolation. They are small, brief, often barely noticeable. A single frozen frame, a half beat of visual hesitation, a momentary mismatch between expectation and motion. But at micro-time scales, there is no room for subtlety. Small deviations occupy a large percentage of the total duration. In a 6-second clip, a single unstable frame is not noise. It is structure. This is why the same artifact feels different depending on length. In long form, it disappears into flow. In short form, it defines the opening impression. The viewer does not analyze this consciously. They feel it. The system has made a decision before the viewer has context. This is the cost of speed. Compression forces systems to resolve priority immediately. Which frame arrives first? Which buffer clears? Which motion begins before the rest is ready? There is no grace period. The pipeline is no longer negotiating with time. It is issuing commands under pressure. At this edge, stability stops being a default condition. it becomes an applied state. That distinction matters because once stability must be applied, not everywhere, not blindly, but intentionally. And that choice does not belong upstream. This concludes this session. Let what you've heard settle before continuing.